Hey there, how's it going? This is Scott Tuzanaw here, and today I've got my friend Tom Terwilliger here to talk about mindset, motivation, and really get you kicking off the new year 2011, ensuring that this year is going to be a very successful year for you. Now, Tom, he's a former Mr. America, and he's the author of The 7 Rules of Achievement. You can pick that book up at your local bookstore. Go on Amazon.com. It's available on Kindle now as well, which is outstanding. I'm really excited to introduce you to Tom and excited to have him on as a regular guest to ensure that your mindset is in check all year long and that you achieve success in not just your body transformation, but in life overall as well. Tom, buddy, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really looking forward to picking your brain and having you share some your insights with the Fat Loss Quickie subscribers and friends.
Well, I tell you, it's my pleasure, no question about it. I know what a terrific job you're doing in serving those individuals out there that have found the courage to take some really good sound advice in terms of the fitness and losing weight and getting in good shape. So it's really my pleasure to help them maybe take it to the next level so that they can use the tools that you're giving them, because I know the exercise, nutrition, all the different things that you're sharing with people are critical. We don't want to diminish the importance of exercise and nutrition in the least bit in all of this, because they are, right there at the top. But starting with the mindset, this is one of the most important things, because you've got all tools, but you don't have the right mindset, or if you've allowed your psyche or your ego, whatever it might be, to stop you from really putting those tools into play, into effect on a regular, steady, consistent basis, then you know what? You're going to wind up frustrated and discouraged. So I'm here, and I'm thrilled to death to be a regular contributor to help create the kind of mindset and success strategies internally that'll really help you put your tools into play. So thank you for the opportunity, Scott. Appreciate it.
Outstanding, man. And you kind of touched on it there with, whenever I ask the readers, the Fat Loss Quickie subscribers, and my friends on the blog, what they need help with the most, some of them are saying they need a little more advice when it comes to nutrition, and others need a little more advice and some guidance with their workout program, and they know that those are important keys to the puzzle. But the most overwhelming thing that people are looking for, need help with, is mindset and motivation to help them not only just stick to the programs that they're following, but make the absolute most out of them, to really build that burning desire to push themselves to the best of their ability. So I would love for you to just kind of talk about the power of the mind, and then I'll have you share a few quick tip strategies, motivational strategies to build them, to help them take a few steps in the right direction for long-term success.
You got it. It's interesting you said that, a lot of your followers, and this goes for fitness in general. If you're working with a one-on-one trainer or someone like Scott who's reaching many and serving many, what most people tend to believe or think is that they need just the exercise, they need the nutrition. Because most clients, at least from my experience in the past, having been a personal trainer for several years and having led teams of personal trainers as well, is that most clients will come in the door assuming that's the first step. That's what they need. I put on 40 pounds in the last few years. I put on 50. I put on 60. Maybe you're 100 pounds overweight or so. And we need the nutrition. We need the exercise. But what they don't know they need is the mindset. Because there was something that happened along the way, mentally, perhaps emotionally, and I believe the two, mentally and emotional, are connected. It's all part of the body and the mind, are so connected. Something happened along the way that allowed you to get to that point. And for many, it's been a lifelong struggle, right? As you know, it's like you hear it all the time. I've been struggling with my weight all my life. I've tried this diet, I've tried that exercise program, and a lot of things produce some results, but then I go back again, right? So for many, it's the going back again that's a real indicator that something needs to shift here in the mind. The good news is that the mind is completely plastic. In other words, it's reshapeable. We can reform neural pathways and create new beliefs and new internal strategies, break old patterns, break old beliefs that have led to kind of, being out of shape in the first place. So the first thing I like to teach really a lot of my students and clients is what I call the process of manifestation. In the book, I call it the flow of manifestation. So what is manifesting? If let's just say you're 220 pounds, you've allowed yourself to get 30 or 40 pounds overweight. The manifestation is the creation of the body you want. Whether it's great abs like yours, Scott. I mean, you got great abs. You guys all have, it's just these amazing abs. And for many, this is like the goal. I want to get those kind of abs. I really want to get in shape. Or for women, maybe it's the buttocks and the hips and things. So the manifestation of that goal, taking it from the ether out there and getting it on paper, setting a goal, setting a strategy for what you really want, and then manifesting it, creating it is the first step. The first step is really getting it down on paper. But what really happens in that process is the manifestation takes place in 4 steps. The first is beliefs. And your beliefs wind up leading to your thoughts, leading to your feelings. Ultimately, it's your feelings that lead to your actions. Because most people don't really take action, like starting out in the gym based on some intellectual concept. Well, some will start, right? I mean, the doctor said, you've got high blood pressure. You're going to keel over in a month if you don't get into the gym and start losing some weight, right? So that's kind of like an intellectual, emotional thing. Right. But it's still a feeling. It's connected to a feeling. I don't want to die. I've got kids. I've got a life to live, right? Yeah. We take action based on the feelings that we have. It's usually the emotions that spark real action. And the actions ultimately lead to our results. In this particular case, it's being a little overweight or in some cases obese. So it could be said that all results are based on our beliefs in many respects. So whatever we believe about ourselves, what we deserve or what we don't deserve, or if we're good enough or whatever it might be that's going on in the skull encased brain that's creating these emotions, these thoughts and feelings that ultimately lead to the actions of being obese, like overeating or under-exercising or being sedentary. It all comes from the mind. It all comes from this belief. And if you believe you don't deserve to have it all, let's say you've got great finances, you've got a great family life, your kids love you, you got a great wife, or maybe you just really enjoy the job you have and your life is great, except you're overweight and you're out of shape and you don't breathe well and you got all these challenges with energy. It's sort of like, well, I've got all this. Do I really deserve all of it? Do I deserve to be in great shape at the same time?
Right.
So times, and there's a whole plethora of different scenarios that take place in people's minds in terms of getting in shape and staying in shape. But it all starts with that critical factor, the belief. So what we'll do over these next couple of months or so is we'll start, really kind of helping people become aware of what their beliefs are. Yeah. Because the beliefs, as you know, Scott, can either serve you or they can disempower you, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's something simple as, and this isn't necessarily a disempowering emotional belief. But working out, I've never believed in any of that stuff. It's really not who I am. Well, where does that come from? Maybe your parents never worked out, never exercised, and instead they stressed the component of being intellectual and studying, and jocks, for example, the athletes back in school, you frowned upon them a little bit. Maybe you didn't even like them.
Right.
So you've developed this belief that, people that are athletic are kind of like, may I say it, assholes.
Right.
If you have a belief like that, and at the same time being in the gym, working out, going through one of your workouts, Scott, that'd be relatively athletic, or you're going to develop to be athletic, right?
Exactly.
So it becomes conflict on a beliefs and an emotional level, and it can shut you down. Maybe it'll work for a little while. But if you haven't shifted the belief and you've started to become athletic because you're getting in shape, you like the way it feels, you like the way it looks, all of a sudden, a few months later, after you're getting some results, you stop. There's an excuse that comes up. I got busy at work. I was having a baby. My husband needed my time. Any number of things can shut you down, and then it's really tough to get back because the old belief is still intact. It's still there. So we're going to work on some of those beliefs along the way so that it changes the actions and ultimately your results.
Yeah, a lot of these beliefs, you said the key word, that it's awareness, becoming aware of them, because they're deep down, and a lot of times you could be repeating those beliefs in your head and you don't even know you've got this script going on that's really holding you back. It's crazy. It could be something simple, like you said, a view. How do you view people who are in great shape? Do you
Mm-hmm.
think, well, it's easy for them, they've got great genetics, maybe they're self-centered. Maybe you think people who are in great shape, they're looking at themselves, it's all about them. And,
Narcissistic, right?
yeah, yeah. So there's so many things that can be holding you back. I know I catch myself in all areas of life, little limiting beliefs that when I finally become aware of, I'm like, holy smokes. I know it's been there all along, and I didn't realize it till I started peeling away the layers of the onion there, and bam, it's right there in front of my face, clear as day.
You know what? You know what's really critical here, though, in terms of touching base on this subject, is that for many, it's a journey just to discover those beliefs. That's the first part. And what we'll do over these next couple of months, and next month we'll really delve into this a little bit on our next call, whether it's a little sooner or next month. We're going to talk about how to really identify. I'm going to give you some tools today, at least one specific tool, to really identify the limiting. Because, listen, we've got beliefs that serve us, right?
Right.
We've got beliefs that, you know what I mean, and that show up in the form of values. If you've got a belief that, family, connection is one of the most important things in life, and that shows up in your actions in terms of really nourishing and being close to your family and making that important, sacrificing other things for your family. For others, it might be an empowering belief like, you know what, I got to really work hard to make myself what I want, to be successful. And that's a good belief as well. For some, that can be limiting. But for others, there are limiting beliefs. So I'm going to help you discover how to identify those, which is only step number one. Changing them is a whole nother step and a whole nother level in the process. But you can start even the change process by interrupting the pattern, because when that belief shows up, if you know what it is, and you know how it shows up, and you change the pattern, in other words, a lot of times the belief, right, we talked about it leads to the thoughts, the feelings, and ultimately the actions. Yeah. So if you can shift when that belief pops up during those times when you want to make a change, or you want to step outside your comfort zone, all of a sudden there it is, and you're aware of it, you can immediately at that point stop what you're doing, interrupt the old pattern, interrupt the old neural circuitry, you might say, and take a different course of action. So it hasn't fully changed the belief, but it has certainly started the process. And we can talk about some little tools you can use immediately to start doing that.
All right. You want to dive into something? Like how do we identify our limiting beliefs? What are some of the ways that we can bring this to awareness?
Well, certainly there are two factors. One is your results, because remember, your beliefs ultimately, through that process of manifestation, lead to your results. So the first step in really discovering what your beliefs are around, and we're keeping this in the context of physiology of your body. I mean, you can look at this in the areas of wealth and relationships as well. But in the area of physiology, look at your results. That's the bottom line. Mm-hmm. If your results are that you tend to work out hard and heavy for a month or two, and you lose a few pounds, and you're kind of get busy because unconsciously maybe you're satisfied. Well, what might be the belief around that? I can't tell you what that belief is, but you can discover it based on your results. If you're obese, what's the belief around that? You're going to be able to discover it looking at your results. That's number one. Number two is when you take an action, like let's just say Scott provides you this great new workout this month. And, there's a little trepidation because it's new and it's going to be tough, and it's going to be hard. You're not even sure you can step up to the challenge, but you're going to try anyway. Some things are going to pop into your head. That little fear, that little doubt, that little uncertainty is going to pop into your head. For most people, getting outside their comfort zone invokes what I like to call that little dragon inside us that wants us to stop, not to move forward. And it shows up in the form of a little inner voice. Now, if you're saying to yourself, well, little inner voice, I don't have a little inner voice. If that's what you're saying, that's the little inner voice that I'm talking about right now. So when you identify what it starts to say to you, and it's subtle, by the way, it knows how to give you a message that you get emotionally, unconsciously, without even being consciously aware of it. But once you become aware, you say, okay, let's just say, for example, you've never crossed the street, period. Why does a chicken cross the street, right? Well, in this particular case, is because the results we want is on the other side. But you've never crossed this particular street. Right. So as soon as you step up to that edge, that curve, and you're ready to take that action, something pops into your head. And it might be, are you nuts? You can't do that. Or are you nuts? You've never done this before. You could get hurt. You could get injured. Any number of little fear-based messages will pop into your head. And what I want you to do is when you're at that moment, when you're standing on that little precipice, ready to cross the street, outside your comfort zone, in your exercise program, in your nutrition, and walking outside your comfort zone may simply mean denying a certain type of food. It may be saying, no, I'm not going to drink that. I'm not going to eat that. But it's a little uncomfortable. And there's a part of your ego that doesn't want you to do that because it means change. You cross that street, you're never going to be the same person again. You're not. Anytime we step outside that comfort zone, the comfort zone expands. And you become a slightly different, more capable person. But the challenge is, there's part of the ego that doesn't want you to change that. Man, it is perfectly satisfied with the status quo. Don't change that, because change represents fear, the unknown, this big void of the unknown. So to keep it simple, when you're on that precipice, when you're on that curb, ready to cross the street into the somewhat unknown, listen for what your little inner voice is saying to you. You combine that message, when you start to get clear on what that message is, you combine that with what you see as your results, and you're starting to get a clear picture of what your beliefs are. Because you can most people can put it together. Oh my God, I didn't realize that every time I did this, it's like every time I mentioned to my dad or my mom that I wanted to play sports, I wanted to play football, my mom said, no way, football, that's going to take away from your academic studies. Or you're going to get hurt. You get hurt out there. I see people get broken legs and arms. All of a sudden you got this belief that doing something physically outside your comfort zone, you can get hurt, period. You've got that belief, and you're going to run into it every single time you go to do something new physically or even nutritionally. So those are two ways. Look at your results and listen for that little inner voice that wants to talk you out of stepping outside your comfort zone. Two great ways to really start identifying those old beliefs.
And it really is, it's there all the time. And I know I catch myself a lot. Even say you're starting, you really want to tighten up your nutrition, eat really well, and you could go great all day long. And at the end of the day, your spouse comes home, did some grocery shopping, she's got a tub of ice cream there, and you're like, there's so many things. Like, a lot of people think it's emotional. Well, there's habits. There's a lot tied into that. But your inner voice, as soon as you see that ice cream, there's dialogue going on in your head. You're saying to yourself, well, I can start tomorrow. I don't want to deprive myself. Why not live a little bit? Or once you start having that ice cream, you take that first scoop, you're like, oh crap, here I go again. No wonder I can never stick to a diet plan. Every time things start going good, I somehow find a way to sabotage myself. So there's so many things that could be going on through your head. So is important. Should we be writing these things down on paper, or just kind of making a mental note of what's going on?
You certainly could. I like that idea, Scott, because anytime you keep a journal, and you know this with exercise, anytime you keep a journal, you become aware of things that you weren't aware of before. When I was training for the National Bodybuilding Championship, the Mr. America and the Mr. Olympia, I have stacks of journals right now. I start about 12, 14 weeks out, and I start journaling how I felt, what my weight was, what kind of supplements I was on, the type of workout I was doing, and I would literally write down my meals for the day. I would start to identify patterns. Oh, okay, I wasn't aware of that. I'll give you an example. There was a gal I was working with several years ago, and she had been, morbidly obese. She had about 75 pounds. Actually, it was over 100 pounds to lose, and we didn't realize why she was having trouble. She wasn't losing the weight, and she swore she was following the diet and the exercise program. And what we came to find out was that she was literally eating unconsciously. Like a lot of people, some people will literally get up in the middle of the night and sleep eat.
Yeah.
That tub of ice cream?
Yeah.
For some people, they just get up in the middle of the night and just start chowing. She had this really interesting experience where she went to a gas station, filled up her car with gas, went inside, paid instead of paying at the pump. She went inside and paid, drove off, went to her meeting, came back out to her car, and looked down and noticed there was the jumbo-sized Snicker bar wrapper on the seat next to her. She has no recollection of buying it. She had to look at the receipt to actually say, did I buy this and eat it? Unconsciously. So you're right. By journalizing, once you become aware of these things, the inner thoughts, the beliefs, the patterns, once you start to become aware of them, it's a good idea to start journaling them as well so that you can, again, reinforce some of the actions that might need to take place in order to change those. So that's a great idea.
And that, I mean, man, dude, we can talk for hours about this. Every time you say something, I'm getting lots of stuff going through my head. I just recently read Brad Pilon's Eat, Stop, Eat, and I did a day of fasting. And during that day of fasting, it brought about a great new awareness of how unconsciously I'm reaching and grabbing for food. And one instance really caught me was when I was slicing. My son asked for a couple pieces of cheese. So I was slicing a few pieces of cheese for him, and I was about to grab one for myself. I'm like, oh my God, I'm fasting today. If I wasn't fasting, it was just like an automatic. I wasn't even thinking about it. I wouldn't even probably not even counted that as food throughout my day that I was eating because it was so unconscious. Just crazy. There's so many chances, or just scraping the food off my kid's dinner plate and that few extra little scoops. You just don't think about it.
Sounds like the little ones are out there now. Are they running up with a tub of ice cream? Daddy, have some! That's the kind of thing that we do. So when you start to journalize, when you start to keep track of these things, you become much more aware of those patterns. And we have patterns in our eating, we have patterns in our movement, we certainly have patterns in our beliefs and our unconscious thoughts. And they can, if we instruct them to, they will start to surface so to become aware of them. And you might forget, oh my God, something happened yesterday and I remember saying such and such to myself. Oh man. If you write that down, you won't forget it because, again, the unconscious mind is tricky. You will forget. And then maybe a week later it happens again. You're like, oh my God, I think that happened. I remember hearing that same little inner voice trying to talk me out of this thing a couple of weeks ago. Write it down instead so you become aware of it. One last tool. So what do? We become aware of it. What do we do? That's the greatest challenge for most people. So here's the thing that takes a little exercising in courage and discipline. And what you can easily say to yourself, once you become aware, now you need to become aware of that little inner voice, but once you do, and you're going to hear it, it's going to show up no matter what. You're getting into the gym, you're reaching for the tub of ice cream, whatever it might be saying to you, you could just say, because you don't want to start an argument with your unconscious mind. It's only there to protect you anyway. The unconscious ego, by the way, that same ego, when we think of the ego, we think about, oh my God, that guy's got an inflated ego. He thinks he can do anything, and he really sucks. There's a big part of the ego that is that component, but there's a larger part of the ego that is the protective component. It identifies with who you are. It's part of your identity, and it wants to hold on to that at all costs. So it will try and talk you out of things, and it'll try and hide different awarenesses. So once you become aware of that, you don't want to start an argument with it. It's there to protect you in the first place, to protect who you are. It's the same ego, it's the same little inner voice, by the way, that if you're driving down the highway and it's all icy and you're going too fast, it's that same little ego that says, slow down, man. You're going to kill yourself. That's the same little inner voice. You got to know when to listen, when not to listen. And when you're hearing it, trying to talk you out of taking action that would move you forward, that would create the new life or the new body that you want, then you just say, thank you for sharing. Literally. It's going to seem goofy in your own mind. You don't have to say it out loud, of course. Right. People might think you're a little nuts. But so what? I'd rather be nuts than obese. You know what I mean? In this particular case. And being both is not real good. So, but when you hear it come up, just say, thank you for sharing. And here's the key part. You need to continue with the action you were going to take anyway. Or improve on the action. In this particular case, you're reaching for the ice cream in the refrigerator. You're doing it unconsciously. You're going to grab a scoop, and you're like, wait a second. Or the piece of cheese. I'm on a fast today. Or wait a second. I'm on my new nutrition plan. So when that pops up, you got to say, hey, thank you for sharing. Put the ice cream away. Continue with the action you're supposed to be taking. If it shows up when you go to lift a weight, or when you go to do a harder workout, or you go for some other congruent action that you should be doing and it's trying to talk you out of it, same thing. Thank you for sharing, and take action anyway. Once you do that, you start to create a whole new neural pathway. It interrupts the pattern, right? Those synapses are right here. Ice cream, enjoyment, I can do it, no problem. Neural pathway. You talk yourself out of it. You say, thank you for sharing. And all of a sudden, it starts to divert. It starts to change patterns. And that's what we're after.
That's awesome, man. That's great. I'm really glad that we're touching on this stuff, and especially beliefs, because I believe that one of the big things that's going to impact or potentially reverse the obesity trend is a shift in beliefs and values, and now we're bringing this to awareness, bringing our beliefs to awareness. So really glad that we're touching on this info. I'm really looking forward to our future calls, and really grateful that you gave us some take action tips to begin applying today. Been a lot of fun discussing this, and I want to guide the people who are watching this video right now, our friends at the Fat Loss Quickie blog and YouTube channel and everything, to the best place to learn more about you. I know you got a couple blogs. You've got your TomTerwilliger.com and 7 Rules. Is it 7rulesofAchievement.com? The number 7 in there?
Number 7, rulesofAchievement.com. Correct.
And if they click on your resources tab on 7rulesofAchievement.com, you've got some great resources in there. One of them that I highly recommend they opt in for is the IR process. And that's an audio that I listen to on a very regular basis before I go to bed in the evening. It's just a really great it's a great process to keep me focused, especially at the end of the day when I'm lying down and my mind is very impressionable. It keeps me focused on my goals and what I really want to achieve in life. And it helps me I'm doing so in a very relaxed state. So it feels absolutely awesome.
Fantastic. Well, the IR process, IR stands for internal representation. And the objective behind that process, that audio, is to help people to start to create a little internal representation, because not everybody can, have the success in visualizing what they want. Other people just kind of have a feeling of what they want, or maybe more related to auditory. So you can put those different pieces together, or you're dominant in one area, and you can use that in this process. But it also walks you through a little bit of a timeline, right, where you kind of create the goal. You've got an idea, you've got a clear picture of what you want, and then you're going to insert it into the future where you want it to be. If I want to lose 20 pounds, it's important to know when that's going to happen. If it's just out there and it's not specific, then it's not guiding my internal success mechanism. And when we talk about that, we'll talk more about that in future episodes. But you got to be specific, write it down, and the IR process will certainly help you with that component of really getting it into your future. And it's out.
I know well. How are you, sweetie?
Listen, next time we're on the call, it'll be my dogs, yapping away. So
you want to say hi to Tom? You want to wave to him?
Little kid.
Here's Noel. Say hi to Tom.
Hi, honey. How you doing?
But one really important point about the whole IR process, and since we're discussing beliefs today, is that I have caught myself going through that process where I may be thinking of the beautiful lake home that I would love to buy, and I'm visualizing it, and I'll catch myself on the head going, "Oh my Scott, like what are you doing thinking of a lake home? It's going to be too hard. How are you going to come up with that kind of money?" And all these different things all playing through your head. And those are times I'm becoming more aware of little things. Like those are the times where I'm realizing, wow, I'm holding myself back from a few things here.
Yeah.
So I still continue with the visualization of what I want, and then I become aware of that inner dialogue that goes through my head when I start thinking of the things that I want.
Right. And we do that. A lot of people tend to think our goals or ambitions are too grandiose for us. And I will tell you this, those thoughts alone, and there's a plethora of evidence that thought alone, my plans, my ambitions, my goals are too grandiose. Where am I going to get the money? Where am I going to find the time? You don't need to think about that. You just need to make it real, plant it in your unconscious mind as if real, drive it into the future, and create it as something that you visualize happening, along with the positive emotions of it. The other thing to add to that is, if you've got a lake house, how does it make you feel, man, knowing that, hey, you know what? Thursday night, we pack it up. Noelle and the other kids and my wife, we start packing our truck, and it's great. We go out every weekend. We go to the lake house, and it starts Thursday night. It's fantastic. Maybe you do a little bit of fun work there. You're on the computer. You're connecting with everyone out there. But under the context of that, how would it feel, man, plant that. Make sure you feel that emotion while you're going through that process. Because the more emotion you have, the more it embeds into the cells of the body. Because here's the last thing we'll say on this one. The brain, and we're talking about the brain power and having the right mindset for creating the body and the physiology and the health and the energy that you want. The brain is more than just this skull-encased gray matter. The brain is every single cell of the body. So the more you create those emotions and feel those emotions in your body, the deeper you drive the belief and change those new beliefs that you can create what you want. If you feel it emotionally, the joy, the happiness, the satisfaction, the relief of having that and the ability to have it in your life and how you can impact others by inviting people like myself and my wife out to the lake house. I mean, we want to come out and enjoy the lake house with you, man.
Exactly.
Have friends out there and do that. So really embody those emotions as well. So you get them into the cells of the body, not just up here intellectually. So so for people who are looking to lose weight, same thing. How does it feel? It's like, okay, a lot of times what happens is we get this thought, I can't wait, I'm going to lose 50 pounds, I'm going to look great, but then inside they're feeling like, can I really do this? I don't know if I can do that. You know what I mean? It's a lot of work. It's going to mean tremendous working out. It's like, and we get associated with that goal a negative feeling. It's like just tense. It's like, yes, I'm saying it, but I don't know if I really believe it. Instead, release all the how. Let go of the how and release that and allow the emotions of having it, the experience of having it, man, the joy, the power, the abundance, the freedom of having that in your life, that experience, that goal really having been achieved. What would that feel like? So associate those emotions, not the negative tensing contraction emotions of how am I going to do this, you know? Let go of that. Doesn't matter how. How doesn't matter.
I think that's why I really enjoy listening to success story audios or seeing people on video who talk about how different their life is after releasing a significant amount of weight. You feel it. It's powerful, and all the emotions. If you could bottle that, to me, bottling those wonderful emotions and feelings, that would be the ultimate supplement in the world.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, I mean, it's all chemical.
Yeah.
It's the chemicals of emotion. Great book, by the way, by Candace Pert, Molecules of Emotion, which is a great book. I highly recommend it for yourself and for your listeners to read as well. Candace Pert, just a tremendous scientist in this area of biology. And so in actuality, why they haven't done it yet, I don't know. But you actually could bottle that feeling. But it's certainly better to create it yourself, definitely.
Yeah, it is. Tom, outstanding, buddy. I mean, this has been a lot of fun. And obviously, we could talk about this for hours and hours. And I'm looking forward to speaking with you once again in the very near future and share some more great advice. So once again, 7rulesofachievement.com. Go check out those resources on his website. And more importantly, grab the book, whether it's at your local bookstore on Amazon or downloading on Kindle. Just an outstanding book. I love the timelines, the descriptions. I love everything about the book. It's been out for about a year now, hasn't it? It's been
a little less than a year. Actually, it was almost. I think we did the book release was in May, and we were so fortunate. It went to #1 on the bestseller list on Amazon. When we released it on Kindle, it also went to #1, and it's been going like this on Kindle because it's interesting. There's so many new books being released on Kindle. It's amazing. I mean, you go to #1, the next day you're gone. The next day you're back up again. Right. But it's really great to have the book being read and sharing those ideas, concepts, and tools, most importantly, for people to really start achieving in their life. So I'm glad to have served you and your listeners as well.
Fantastic, Tom. Look forward to talking to you again. And once again, thank you for your time. It's been great chatting with you, buddy.
Our pleasure. Go get him, everybody.